Hey, welcome to the Live Better, Explore More podcast. I'm Alan Mayseal, and with me today, Seair Lorentz, the Executive Director for the Petaluma River Park, and Mike Ferris, the current president of the Rotary Club here in Petaluma.
Welcome to the Live Better, Explore More podcast with your host, Alan Mayseal. If you like what you hear, please hit like and subscribe.
Welcome.
Thank you.
Mike, let me start with you.
Okay.
There's a crab feed coming up on Friday. This is Tuesday, a couple days before. So some of these questions are going to be seen afterwards. But how many people are you hoping to get for the crab feed?
Well, this year we're hoping to get somewhere between 400 and 450. So we're at the Veterans Hall down here in Petaluma, South Petaluma Boulevard. And 450 seems to be the sweet spot for people milling around and being comfortable. So that's what we're shooting for.
Okay, so tell me about the event. A crab feed, is this one of those ones where they roll out the plastic on the table and somebody goes to one end and throws 400
Pretty close to that,
of...
Alan. We have, this is the first time in 4 years that we've actually had the crab feed. So, of course, we had a little bit of COVID issues a number of years ago. So in 2020, we were able to sneak in the crab feed right before the world kind of went sideways. And then last year, we didn't have it because our club celebrated our 100th birthday party. So we did that over on the east side of Petaluma at the Elks Club. But this year, we're back in action and looking forward to it.
Okay, so it's not just the crab feed, though. There are some other things going on with it. So why don't you fill us in? What are the other things that are going to happen?
Okay, so at our crab feed, typically we also do what's called a super raffle. So our super raffle, all of our members have been selling tickets madly, hopefully, for the last couple of months. And we give out 6 cash prizes that night. They range from $8,000 down to $200. But within that, in the last several crab feeds that we've had, we usually invite a local organization to raise money for their project. And this year, we're just thrilled to death to have the Petaluma River Park involved with that. But in past years, we've done Miracle League. In 2020, we raised money, helped raise money for the Polyclass Theater renovation. So this is a type of event that we've kind of gotten used to and hopefully got it down so that Seair and her group can raise a fair amount of money as well.
So is part of the auction that you said the 8,000 down to 200?
So that's part of the Rotary part of it. So the Rotary, there's the Rotary crab feed and then the Rotary super raffle. That'll be on the Rotary side. And then Seair, I think, is going to highlight she's got a series of amazing experiences that they're going to auction off, live auction on Friday night.
Perfect. Any idea how much money you think could be raised?
Well, I'm hopeful that we're going to raise somewhere between the crab feed and super raffle, 45 to 55,000, hopefully. Yeah.
Nice.
Yeah.
That's a really nice number.
Yeah.
And now that doesn't include the fundraising component that you're going to have.
That's correct, yeah.
Okay.
It's exactly kind of as Mike described it, a fundraiser within a fundraiser. And we're so honored to be amongst peers such as Rotary and Polyclass Theater, incredible community-led projects that have been completed in this town. So the River Parks portion will be kind of towards the end of the evening, and it will be a live auction. And we have 6 different experience packages that we've put together through incredible generous donations from the community and volunteers. And there will be, we have an auctioneer. It'll be a full-blown auction for these experiences. And then also a Fund the Fun, which will be kind of a paddle race style at the end there. So really allowing anybody to bid at any amount that they're comfortable for.
Okay, so let's back up a little bit. That's a nice segue. Where in the heck is this park?
Yes. So the River Park is currently an open park, and it is also a park in planning, a park in process. So the River Park is open now. It is on the McNear Peninsula, which is off of D Street, right after you go off the drawbridge leave Petaluma Boulevard in downtown, go over the drawbridge of the river. But before you get to Lakeville and the SMART train station, right on the right, there's a little street called Copeland. It's also where our main bus depot is. You take a right in there, and the beginning of the park is actually Steamer Landing Park. It's City Park and has been a city park since 96, I believe. It's also where Friends of the Petaluma River, another nonprofit here in town, operate and have their headquarters at the David Yeardsley Heritage Center, which is where most people know it for Rivertown Revival. Their annual fundraiser and music festival happens in July. So the River Park property starts just beyond the city property. And it's the whole peninsula is about 35 acres, and the city park's about 10 acres of that, and the river park, Petaluma River Park, is about 24 acres. And fun fact, actually, when we even got involved in this project in the beginning, didn't know this, but the city had envisioned that this whole peninsula would be the signature public park in the city back in the 90s, part of the Petaluma River Enhancement Plan that was put together at that time. And so the whole peninsula had been rezoned for Parks and Rec. Okay. Unfortunately, the city had only been able to manage to acquire the first 10 acres. And so the remaining acreage was up for sale in 2019 by the McNear family, original owners of the property. And we were able to, with 600 community members' support, raise the funds to acquire that land in November of 2020. So that's the portion of the park that's open now. It was 2020, and so if you remember, they closed down the park system. Things were a little bleak. So the one thing we knew was, people need open space and access to it ASAP. So we actually got the park open and insured within a week after acquiring the peninsula and got people out there. There's a bit of a more recent development. The River Park Foundation was fortunate enough to acquire additional park property that's on the other side of the river. It's off of Lakeville, off of that frontage road called Hopper. Yeah. If you know where the Mary Isaac Center is and the animal shelter down there, it's 38 acres, so it's a really sizable portion on the mainland, and we acquired that property in January of this year. So this will be also part of the park's footprint. The park will now span, ultimately, both sides of the river. Right now, that portion, the Hopper Street side, is not open to the public. It's not ready for public access quite yet. We've got some rebar to dig out and things like that.
Okay. So how are you going to... I know where the Hopper part is. Mm-hmm. There's current housing behind the Mary Isaac Center. Yep. And then there was supposed to... And then now it's empty, vacant land all the way up to like D Street, right?
Shamrock
pretty close.
Is Shamrock, the cement manufacturer, right, is there as well. So the property actually ends. It doesn't go all the way to D Street. It ends where the Shamrock facility is.
Okay. So here's my question: what are when I say development? I mean, think of the park as there's a playground. Is there going to be a bike park? Mm-hmm. Are you going to put in pickleball courts?
That's a favorite
And how
topic.
many are you going to put in there?
Yeah. No.
12 or more.
Yeah. People would like to see it all be pickleball, actually. There are certain groups that would love 38 acres of pickleball. Since we actually don't have very many courts in town, as you might be aware, there's only a couple at Lucchese. So we're not quite ready to answer that question in full. Where we're at, we're very committed to a community-led process here. While the foundation acquired the land, we are working broadly and deeply with community members to envision exactly what it wants to be. The mission is to create a shared space that connects people, art, and nature. But under that banner, there's a lot of different ways to succeed in that, right? And so we're about a third of the way in this year with our concept plans development. The concept plan is what you're asking for. What are we exactly building here, and where will it be located? And so actually this summer we'll be bringing those initial plans out into the community and discussing them broadly and looking for feedback through events and surveys and whatnot on what those want to be. There will be amenities. It's connecting people, art, and nature in a public park. So there's some givens. There will be trails. There will be trails, bike and pedestrian trails along the riverfront, and specifically, and there will be quite a bit of active habitat restoration of the riverfront and some of the other sensitive areas on the property. One interesting thing about this whole environment is the landscape as we know it today is completely man-made. So the river was dredged in the middle of the 19th century to straighten it, basically. If we remember, the river is a tidal slough, and it's really wetland, and it used to be very circuitous through this portion of the city. But in order to get the large shipping vessels in from, because remember, we're connected to the San Francisco Bay. A lot of the reasons Petaluma exists in its current state is because of that connectivity with transportation during the era. And so they came in and they straightened it, and specifically the McNear Canal, which exists today. It's kind of that dead end at Steamer Landing.
Right.
But what that means is that actually the peninsula is completely man-made from dredge spoils.
Right.
And then the environment you see there, the shoreline and whatnot, is actually not healthy habitat. It's too steep. Wetland banks need to be gradual for the plants to take hold, so to prevent erosion and create, I won't bore everybody with all the details of what needs to happen, but we've got a lot of work to do to lay back those riverbanks, stabilize them, etc., to create healthy habitat. Most of the plant life on the peninsula and on the Hopper Street side are invasive, non-desired plant life.
Right.
So we need a ton of trees out there. That's one thing. If anybody's been to Rivertown Revival in July, they know that we need some shade in a major way. And anybody that just tries to walk the park in a summer day. So those are part of the given plans. And then there will be some kind of art element. We already have one large-scale sculpture out there we installed last year by artist Mark DeSuvero, who is a renowned metal sculptor. And that was installed, and then there will be, but exactly what kind of art, performing art, has been kind of top of the list. The idea of an amphitheater for music that could also double as an outdoor classroom and kind of have a multi-purpose. And we're not talking about the shoreline with lights and all the things, but we're talking about something appropriate for the space and that can jive with the natural park
I
environment.
thought we were going big.
Yeah.
Oh,
Boom,
No
like
shoreline
that.
amphitheater,
Took it right out.
Exactly.
Took
Yeah.
it, just pulled the reeds right out from underneath my feet. So, in this amphitheater, okay, are you thinking on the 38 off the Hopper Street property or on the peninsula?
it's too soon to tell. I mean, generally, the peninsula, because of its geography, it has this kind of, bottlenecked entrance and out.
Yep.
And you kind of, one of the magical pieces of the properties, you're in the middle of town, right? You're right from the SMART train. You walk from downtown. You walk out there, though, and all of a sudden, you're like in this very natural, wild environment. So there's something magical about that, a lot of folks say. So we don't, so the Hopper Street property on the mainland definitely presents kind of perhaps a better opportunity for built amenities as part of the park.
Okay.
But it's still to be determined as we're working with community and our landscape architects to determine what it will be. We had the good fortune of getting a large planning grant from the State Coastal Conservancy last year, $1.4 million of planning to get us through about 3 years of planning work. So that is working with our landscape architects and to take the community's input and direction, what is they need, and put pen to paper.
Okay. So, roughly, timing-wise, not if everything goes right, because not everything ever goes right. There's always little, detours.
Of course.
When do you think you will see something?
Yeah. So a reminder that the River Park on the peninsula is open today, dawn till dusk. We installed a wonderful trail 2 years ago. We're about halfway done constructing this new gathering area that actually all three of the Rotary clubs participated in, which will have shade and seating. And so people can go to the park now. And we're getting about 2,500 visitors a month because we installed a people counter. Very exciting. The big picture, when will the final River Park be done with the ribbon cutting and all the fun things? 2028 at this point in time. So the vision, you'll be able to see and look, they're going to put a playground there. They're going to put a community garden there. This is all going to be trees and natural space. Okay. You'll be able to see that by the end of this year. You'll get a preview of options this summer, which we really hope everybody comes and participates and joins our mailing list so that they can be invited to come and give feedback on that. And then next year will be about, developing construction drawings, fundraising, obviously a big component of this. The other piece is permitting and the environmental review. The second you touch the water, about alphabet soup of regulatory agencies. Yeah. So we've got a lot
Everybody's got a hand.
Work through, But and so while 2028 can feel far, I think it's going to come about pretty quick as these years keep ticking by.
No, listen, I think it'd be fascinating to see what you can do. I mean, there's what you want to do, and there's what you get to do. Mm-hmm. And they're always not the same, right? Sometimes they do, sometimes they don't. Once, let's say things they progress, 2028 comes and you've built it, whatever it is, okay? Who then takes care of the park after that?
Yeah, it's a great question. We're still, investigating our ultimate operating model. Right now, the project is entirely supported by fundraising, and we're independent of. Besides government grants, we're not getting tax dollars, etc. So the park the foundation needs to take a close look at that. There's absolutely partnerships around the table, or partnership options. This is a pretty common model that parkland ultimately becomes, owned by either the city or the county or the state, with a friends of kind of an organization, the conservancy model that supports and fundraises. So that's one option. But we're also looking at other earned revenue opportunities. One of the things that the Hopper Street acquisition does for us is it's 38 acres. And definitely a lot of that wants to be park. But it's also acreage infill within a half mile of the SMART train, within a mile of downtown. We have a housing crisis. So we're definitely also ultimately looking for Hopper, what is the highest best use for the community, and where might there be earned revenue opportunities for the foundation. For example, if we were to partner with a development on some commercial or some residential development there, have a ground lease operation or agreement, which is supporting the operations of the park for the long term.
Okay.
Very much, I will just say that we're kind of having two parts and two phases about this. The park is leading the development, and the establishment of the river park will come first, and then what the rest of the land wants to become is going to be on a much slower time frame, in recognition that we need to build partnerships in a coalition to envision what that wants to be. The River Park Foundation and our board doesn't pretend to be the experts in housing or development at all. So how can we work closely with the city, which we're already doing, and others, to really look at what are the needs in Petaluma and how can we best meet them?
Let me guess. Everybody who has an opinion agrees that it should be one thing.
Yeah, that's exactly right. You've obviously lived in Petaluma for a long time. It's really easy to assert any kind of change. But we also recognize that this is where we do want to develop. I mean, unless we want to start encroaching on our urban growth boundary, right? This is open land in the heart of the city that is post-industrial, and
you have to do something
rather than be vacant, right? We're all. Yeah, and another really thing that's going to transform that area of the city is the completion of the Caulfield Bridge. So that's the car bridge that's going to be from the southern end of town, from the roundabout that's down on by the Boulevard South over to Caulfield, essentially.
Right.
And they're expecting 13,000 cars a day to go over that bridge.
How any idea when that'll get? I mean,
2028 is when they say it'll be done.
So that's why you're going to be.
So trying to say, okay, how do we work collaboratively, to make something that works for as many people as possible.
Right. That makes sense.
Yeah, just if you want my opinion, this is the human predicament. Things get done in silos. Everybody's working on good things, but it's about collaboration and communication, and how do we coordinate all these different efforts so that we're creating systems that make sense and that are enhancing our community goals, which is, to combat climate change, to make every resident of Petaluma and the greater region, healthier and happier, right? And there's so much data about the role of parks and access to nature and people's health and happiness in the world. And we're hoping to be part of that conversation on a partnership with others. Yeah.
So it'll be interesting to see at the end of this year, right, that what the rendering looks like.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah. I'm excited myself.
Yeah. I bet you are.
Yeah. It's been years that we've been talking about this. And, I know some that, we've been like, well, we're committed to community-led. And some people are like, get on with it already. But what we're finding in these relationships that we're building with different community members, including people that are, have historically not been included in the public planning process or even participation in public parks, people that have the time. If you're holding a typical focus group on a Tuesday at 9 a.m., there's certain people that have the resources and the ability to show up for that, and there's people that don't. And we've identified actually 9 different equity priority populations in the city. People with disabilities, the elderly, youth, our Latinx community, making sure our Asian American Pacific Islander community are unhoused, all have a seat at the planning table here to make sure that as well as everybody else who are all welcome during the public portions.
Mike, did you notice that when she said elderly, she pointed right at me?
I know.
Oh my God! Can you believe
That's
that?
okay.
Let me ask you this: how does Rotary get tied? I say that like that's not like a derogatory term. It's not. How do you get involved with the River Park? Right? I mean, you got the Miracle League. To me, as a former Rotarian, I see that. It's not that I don't see the River Park. I just because it's such a big. Somebody once told me a camel is a horse designed by a committee. Right? And so I can see what goes into the park, whether it's the peninsula piece or the 38 acres, the Hopper Street part. There's going to be so many ideas of what should happen, what should go there, and there's going to be a little bit of this, right? So how did you become
Get involved with that?
Yeah.
To be honest, I think I met Seair, like you said, the time's kind of a rubber band. I want to say it was a little over a year ago. One of our past presidents, Royce Van Bever, we usually do field trips, and we'd had a field trip out at the River Park, and Seair was there, and she was a captivating speaker, and the vision was just clear. And so Seair also has a member on her board, I think Matt Stone, who's also a member of the Petaluma Valley Rotary Club. And so when I went to my, president-elect trainings and the international conferences, I met up with both the Petaluma Valley and Petaluma Sunrise with Mike Bluto and John Moeller. And I brought up the River Park, and they all didn't go any further than that. Said absolutely, we won't want to be involved with that. So Seair mentioned about we have a district grant, and I don't want to get too Rotary on people, but our district, it goes from basically the Petaluma at the southern end all the way up to the Oregon border, and so our three clubs are in part of that district. And so the district typically every year will give you matching funds for a project, a local project. And so sometimes what clubs will do is they'll individually do something, but we have found over the years that if we combined all three clubs' finances together, we can just leverage that into more money. And so that's what we decided to do this year. We went to Seair and her group and said, what can we do? And so they wanted to complete this community gathering spot with a shade sail. So all three clubs we're just very thrilled to be a small part of that project. And so that's what we're doing as a group. With respect to Rotary in general, you're an ex-Rotarian. Parks are kind of in our wheelhouse, right? I mean, that's kind of what we do. This year's international theme is create hope in the world. And below that, it's mental health as well as the environment. And as I mentioned before, I mean, the Petaluma River Park kind of checks every single one of those boxes.
Yeah, it does.
So it was kind of a no-brainer to kind of use the power of Rotary to kind of move this forward. And plus, too, this is a project that everybody in Petaluma is just going to benefit from. And so to be able to give this project a little bit of a stage to promote their vision, we're more than happy to do it.
Okay. I love that. I think that's great that all three Rotary clubs are actually going to work in. It's not that they probably don't work in unison. You could have your own little pet projects, but I think that's fantastic. You guys took something that's going to be substantial here in town.
Right.
So, by the way, congratulations on the presidency. Then you become the past president, and then you never.
Well, in our club, for sure, you never get to be president a second time. So, I'm the 101st president of the Petaluma Rotary Club, and so it'll never come back my way again. So, it is kind of an honor to do. I mean, it's a little daunting to become president. There's a lot going on with it, but it's been fun, and it has been fun.
Fantastic.
Yeah.
Okay, all right, so they're going to raise $40,000 to $50,000 on their fundraiser. Mm-hmm. All right, kid, what do you got?
Well,
That's it?
Yeah.
That's all you got?
No. I think right now it's between 30 and 40 is our goal. 30 to 40,000 is the goal for the experiences. Now, it's nice to set goals that you hope to go higher than. But
you got to aim high, right?
Absolutely. And So I think that and obviously it's going to take more than that to build this park. But I think we have nearly 700 community members that are contributing to the park as of now. And we also have the support from the state, so we're feeling pretty good about the trajectory for that component. But yeah, we've got a lot of work to do, a lot of work ahead of us. I mean, as Mike was saying, it will transform Petaluma forever. It'll be a 35-acre central park in the heart of the city, and so.
Great location.
Yeah. We're hoping that it's, one of the things, I grew up in this town and the east side, west side thing, right? We're really hoping we can be a part of trying to get over that a little bit, right? And the park's really well situated on both sides of the river now to serve both sides of the city, and how we can bring folks together, and there's a lot of growth. There's a lot of change going on in Petaluma right now. And I think that one of the things that will help us stay in good communication with each other and our sense of identity as a community will be having space and place for us to both build the park together, but then also to enjoy it together and have interaction.
Okay, so approximately what time this year can people see what the rendering it could look like?
Yeah.
Is there a target like November something?
July at this point. I'm not going to say a date, but in July, that's when we'll be kind of, we're planning a series of events and hoping to get some exhibits in places where people can really just casually drop in, if nothing else, at our office over at the Foundry Wharf, and come in and take a look at the different alternatives and say what they like and say what they want to see more of. Absolutely. And so that'll be this summer that they'll have that opportunity.
Okay.
Yeah.
Is there anything I wasn't smart enough to ask you about?
I don't think so. I think we covered most of the bases. Yeah.
All right. If somebody wants to get involved, how do they get a hold of you or get involved? Where do they go?
Yeah, absolutely. So we've got a website, petalumaRiverPark.org. We are also on Facebook and Instagram. And you can, there's a get in touch form on the website. Fill that out. We also have a phone number posted there. Call us anytime. There is currently a survey too that is more open-ended, not a response to, but hey, what do you want to see at the river park? And that's going to be open until the end of this month. So get online and
there you go.
Tell us what you think.
All right. Seair Lorentz, Mike Ferris. Seair's with the Petaluma River Park. Mike's the president of Rotary. It's been a pleasure to have both of you. Thank you very
Absolutely.
much.
Thank
Thanks,
you.
Alan.
All right. There we go.